Hello again. I don't suppose anybody really believed that any failed asylum seekers or bogus refugees would be flown to Rwanda yesterday. Various quislings and fifth columnists in this country devoted enormous efforts to challenging every step of the process of removing from this country a bunch of people who had no conceivable right to be here. In many cases, the grounds for those legal moves seemed to any normal person utterly bizarre. For example, many of those scheduled to be sent to Rwanda had suffered at the hands of people traffickers. Yes, they'd paid large sums of money to get involved with some very unsavoury characters who had then treated them badly. It's most unfortunate, but it's hardly Britain's fault. They had set out to become illegal immigrants, and the hardships they suffered as a result are really upon their own heads. One person who was said to have been a victim of torture. When we are told that a torture victim is due to be deported from Britain, this is calculated to make us all feel like heartless brutes who ought to feel ashamed of ourselves. I suspect that most people, when they hear about a torture victim, would assume that the person was tortured by a state agency such as the army or police and that he's some kind of political refugee. This is all smoke and mirrors and part of the plan backed by shadowy organisations to prevent illegal immigrants from being removed from this country. Let's have a look at who this person actually is and how he came to be tortured. He's from Sudan and got a girl pregnant. Her family was keen to kill him, and so he thought that if he went off to travel for a while, they might forget all about him. He then fell in with some gangsters in Libya who tortured him, and eventually, when he had raised the money, transported him to Italy. From there, he made his way to France and then crossed the Channel illegally. What possible responsibility does Britain have for such a person? After endless wrangling in the British courts paid for by unknown people, it was the European Court of Human Rights who finally stopped the flight to Rwanda. Why are we still even a member of the Council of Europe? Why can't we devise our own human rights law and enforce it ourselves? The main point of leaving Europe for most people was so that we could take control of our own borders and be subject only to our own laws. And yet here we are, years after leaving the European Union, unable to control our own immigration policy and still subject to the European courts. I fancy we've taken the wrong turn somewhere.